Hello everyone. So it's been about a year since I've uploaded a video. I did this quilt, I quilted this quilt for a wonderful customer. And this was going to be a gift that they were giving to someone special to the family. So I wanted to do a super good job. It took me a while to figure out just what to do because it's flowers, it's music, and this technique, the quilting that you see, is called nemeshing. It's a technique, a style of quilting, if you will, invented by Beth Ann Nemesh, Nemesh, Beth Ann Nemesh of White Arbor Quilting. I will show you in this video my quilting of this quilt, but in no way will I attempt to teach you how to do this, how to quilt this technique. If you want to learn how to do this on your own, I highly recommend Beth Ann's class called Feather Fiesta. Go to whitearborquilting.com and look for her class, Feather Fiesta. One of the segments in that class is nemeshing. And I say one of the segments is because the segments that lead up to nemeshing will teach you all about how to quilt different feathers. It's kind of a one session builds on another. It builds your skills as you go. It's a bit pricey, but trust me, it is worth every penny if you want to learn how to do this style of quilting. So in this beginning, I'm just showing you an overview of the finished quilt. This was a white whole cloth with a border and the beautiful floral applique, and the treble clefs in the center were also applique. And it was such an honor to be allowed to quilt this gorgeous, gorgeous quilt. Overall, this quilt only measures about 52 inches square. It is meant as a wall hanging, and it took, oh my gosh. Now again, I quilted this about a year ago. It's been a raw video waiting to be edited for a long, long time. But thinking back, it took easily 20 to 30 hours to quilt this. I think pretty much all the quilting is on the video except for the straight line quilting in the borders and in the teeny tiny straight line quilting in the treble clefs. But for the rest of the video, I will slow it down to normal speed, doing the outlines of the different feathers fronds, and then I will speed it up to 2 times normal speed for all the pebbling. So I left it all in there because I figured you might want to see. So here you go. Now the beginning of the pebbling this is normal speed. This is regular speed. But after this, just about all of the pebbling will be at 2 times speed. And the music will kick in, and I will only narrate in some of the spots. So have fun. So here we are back at normal speed, and again I was slowing it to normal, real live speed in doing these nemeshing flurries, I guess you could call them. That little circle at the end is called a puff head. Don't you just love it? A puff head. Anyway, so in Beth Ann's class, she teaches you how to do these flourishes, and then you tie them all together with the pebbles. And going around these flowers, it was somewhat easy, relatively easy, to go from a Nemesh flourish into pebbling, surrounding it, and then jumping off another part of the flower, applique, and starting another nemeshing flourish. So it was really easy to travel. Once I got done with all the flower areas, you'll see me later on in the video toward the center of this wall hanging actually tie off and restart, and just build all my nemeshing flourishes, and then at the end come back and fill in all the spaces. So you can do it two ways. You can flourish and pebble and use the pebbles to move on, or to tie off and then do your pebbles all at once. So you can do big flourishes or you can do little ones like this. Basically, you're using the flourishes to fill space. You don't want big masses of pebbles. These flourishes are the eye catchers, so big or small, use them to fill up space. And they're just so cool. So, like I said earlier, doing these flourishes off these applique flowers especially is pretty easy. I mean, it's kind of self-directing on where to put them. And one of the really neat places is to just, where you have a leaf, you can just jump off, continue on that line of the leaf. I don't do it as elegantly here as Beth Ann does, but still beautiful. Even if you notice my pebbles aren't perfect, but the overall look is what is just so stunning and cool. So here's another jumping off point, the end of a flower. These flourishes are all different. And it's just whatever comes to mind. In Beth's class, she does narrow it down to a list of about 4 different things that you have in your toolbox. Like the puff head is one, that little swirl to the left there is another, a swirl into a feather, or just a stacking of feathers. So any combination of those. And the key in these is that whatever combination you choose, don't make them continuous. You'll notice there are gaps. I just left the gap. And let's see what happens, because I am watching this as you are. So see, I left a gap, and now I'm starting another element, stacking of feathers. So leaving those gaps is just another way to make each one unique. None of these are the same, because it just, whatever comes to my head, that's what I quilt. And you'll be able to do that once you take her class. I am not paid, by the way, to advertise her class. I get nothing for this. I just think she is a phenomenal teacher, and just she's an amazing quilter and a phenomenal teacher. So I'll leave it at that. So you will notice, and throughout this video, my right hand on the fabric. I am working on a stand-up long arm, Camel Vision 2. And I quilt with my left hand. I am a lefty. So I am moving the handlebar with my left hand, and I keep my right hand on the fabric, and it helps me by pushing down a little bit in, varying the pressure that I put on that quilt sandwich. It helps me keep a little better control. So, as does that open toe foot. I can see exactly, because there's a lot of backtracking in this, and doing those pebbles, go around the circle 1.5 times. There's backtracking, and then going from one portion to another in these motifs involves a lot of backtracking too. So having my right hand on the fabric, it provides a little resistance and helps me have more control when I do that. So with these pebbles, one of the things that Beth Ann teaches is that you will get a more beautiful, more interesting look, and a look that hides a lot of flaws by varying the size of your pebbles. So you have some really tiny ones, I have some pretty big ones, medium-sized ones. By varying the size of your pebbles, you will give your quilting more interest. It will hide a lot of your flaws. Again, my pebbles are far from perfect. I mean, they are not round. In some cases, I miss the backtracking. Life is too short. I'm sorry. This is where I am right now. And it's okay. But by varying the size of those pebbles, anyone who looks at this, the end result, is gonna not even notice the flaws in my pebbling. So if you like to pebble, vary the size of your pebbles, and you can hide a whole lot of sins. Vary the size of your pebbles. It will make your quilting look much more interesting, and it will hide a lot of flaws. So there's my soapbox for the day. So we're at a point where I am starting to come to the center. I've finished how should I say this? The flower applique goes all around the outside of the quilt. So I have rolled the quilt up enough now to where I'm starting to have to quilt that center portion, which is like big no man's land, big, a lot of empty spaces. So I am not confident enough yet to travel in such big empty spaces and make sure that my motifs are nicely spaced and, you know, not crowded in one area and loose in another area. So in this center open area of the quilt, I've decided I'm going to quilt in all these Nemeshing motifs first, fill in my space, right? Divide and conquer that big open scary space, make it a whole lot smaller, not so open and not scary spaces. So I'm going to put in all my motifs first, and then once I filled them in nice and balanced and uniformly, more or less, then I'll come back and fill in around those motifs with pebbling. So I will do one motif, finish its flourishes, tie off, go to another section, big empty section, and do another motif, add the flourishes. You know, I start with the spine, and then I add my flourishes and go on. So that's what you'll see me doing over the next few minutes. So something I probably should have started with earlier in the quilt in this video was how did I start this quilt? I get a lot of questions about that. First thing you do with any quilt is you stabilize it. I have an 18-inch throat, which is small, the smallest, or one of the smallest, for a long arm, but I like it. So, but with that, I have a lot of rolling back and forth. So to make that doable, I really have to stabilize a quilt before I do anything else. So how do you go about stabilizing a quilt, especially on a long arm? On a domestic, easy peasy. Spray paste your top and your back to the batting. You are stabilized. But from then on, whether you're quilting on a domestic or a long arm, I would highly recommend that you stitch in the ditch around the outside edges of your quilt and all your borders, all your border seams. So in this case, there are two borders. There's the black and white piano key border, and then the little solid black border. I stitched in the ditch on both sides of each of those. And then I stitched in the ditch around all the applique. And anywhere that there were open spaces bigger than my fist, I would pin baste it. I would drop a pin about every 4 inches, 4 to 6 inches, or 4 to 5 inches. And that helped stabilize the quilt. I did that rolling from the top all the way to the bottom. Now my quilt is stabilized and I can literally quilt this baby starting anywhere from the inside out, from the top to the bottom to the top. It doesn't matter because this quilt is stable. It's not going anywhere. And those little puckers that you see all around any of the quilting, whether it's stitch in the ditch or the pebbles or anything, excuse me, that's a natural occurrence. That is not fullness. That's because there is such dense quilting and then nothing. So stitching in the ditch helps tremendously. You manage your fabric so that you don't get puckers, you don't get pleats. You get a nice, smooth, flat, finished surface when you're all done. And see how I hold my hand down like that? As soon as I hold my hand down, see those puckers disappear right around my hand. So because it's not fullness, it's just the difference in having a stitched area next to a non-stitched area. So first thing I do, stabilize my quilt, which means stitch in the ditch, borders, blocks, applique, and anything that is an open space larger than your fist, which is about a 4-inch square. At least for me, it's about a 4-inch square. Pin baste it. Just drop a pin so that doesn't move. Your batting doesn't get bunched up. Your backing isn't going to get a pleat in it. That'll help you. And once you've stabilized it, you can literally quilt anywhere in any order at pretty much any density as you go. So we are just a few minutes from the end of the video, and the rest of the video is going to be just pebbling, showing how I go around all the images you just saw me quilt. So let me take this time to give you just a few little facts in case you have questions. The batting I used in this quilt was 1 layer of Quilter's Dream 80/20 in white. It's the 80/20 Select. It's the mid-weight. The top thread is So Fine by Superior Threads in a 50 weight. Since then, I have started to use the Glide thread in 50 weight. It's polyester with cotton cover, and I find it just as nice to use as Superior So Fine. Why did I switch? Well, I haven't switched totally, but quite often Superior's threads are on back order indefinitely. So, you know, you can't wait forever, especially when you've got a backlog of quilts to do. So I looked into, tried different ones of the Glide thread. I like the 40 weight. I love that. And I've started using the Glide 50 weight anywhere that I would use Superior So Fine. And I love it. I love them both. So I can't say anything bad about either one, except maybe with Superior. I just got tired of waiting for it to become available. So that's the thread on the top. In the bottom, I use the magnet bobbins. I have a magnet core. I don't wind bobbins. I just think that's a horrendous waste of time. I don't have patience for that, and I don't want to charge my customers time for that, because I do charge by the hour. So I buy, let's see, it's Dash for the wholesale accounts. I'm not quite sure I can think of the name right now, but it's the Magnet Glide bobbins. The Magnet Glide are 60 weight, which is what I used in this, because white is one of those colors. And then they have the Delight bobbins in a variety of colors that are in 40 weight. And I love those when I do the 40 weight. I love the 40 weight when I do edge-to-edge quilting, because customers really want the edge-to-edge quilting to show up, and the 40 weight will show up better than the 50 or 60 weight. So, but in this case, I use the Magnet Glide, which is the magnetic core bobbin in a 60 weight. The needle, Gross Beckett Sharp. Most of the time I use a 3.5 needle, which I think is like a 14. I think that's about it as far as the tools that I use. So this brings us to the end. Thank you again for watching. I really appreciate that. Leave some comments, ask some questions. I will answer them if I know the answer. And again, thank you. I so appreciate it. Thank you very much. You guys have a good day. Bye-bye.